Welcome to Country Fried Rock, where we talk with musicians to find out what inspires their creativity. Country Fried Rock. Music uncovered.
Yeah, hi, this is Adam Remnant from the band Southeast Engine.
Hey, Adam, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Are y'all still based in Athens?
We're relatively still based out of Athens. Myself and my brother Jesse Remnant, who plays bass and sings harmony in the band, also live in Athens. And then our drummer, Leo DeLuca, recently moved to Durham, North Carolina, and our keyboard player lives in Morgantown, West Virginia. Leo and I started the band like 10 years ago, and just until the last year, we've all lived in Athens, except our keyboard player, Billy Matheny, is from Morgantown, West Virginia. He's always lived there, but the rest of the band's always been in Athens for the most part.
Well, I'll tell you how I found Southeast Engine, and you may not know this. I could not go to South by Southwest this year.
Neither did we.
Well, so I ended up finding one of y'all on Couch by CouchWest on Twitter.
All right. Yes, that would be me.
Tell me about your Twitter life.
I've only recently started to become a fan of Twitter. We've been using Facebook for a while, and recently I've adapted to Twitter as well.
Honestly, Couch by CouchWest was the first time I ever got Twitter.
Oh, really?
Well, it was the first time I ever really understood the power of how it's different than Facebook.
Yeah, there is a subtle difference, and I think it's that with Twitter, I feel like with Facebook, if we make updates every day or more than once a day, that it could be sort of annoying to people that, follow our page. But with Twitter, I don't know, it just feels like it can be a little bit more lighthearted or not as, I don't know. It just doesn't. It seems like you can post more on a quick little message.
So are you in charge of the Twitter account for Southeast Engine, or do y'all each do your own thing?
I say that I would update the Twitter page and the Facebook page. It's mainly me updating them, and then occasionally the other band members will post something too. But it's mostly me.
Is that by choice?
I don't know. I just started doing it, and the drummer Leo DeLuca, he posts stuff occasionally. It just kind of happened that way, I guess. It wasn't really too deliberate. A friend of mine who's in a band from Boston called Hallelujah the Hills had posted his video that he did for it on Facebook. I saw it, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And so I just got out the little flip video camera, and my wife is in the video. She's the one that's filming it. I just asked her. You can see in the video me asking her to film it, to do a song for Couch by CouchWest. And I did an old-time song called Cripple Creek. I played it on banjo.
As I said, that was how I found you all. So when I then went and researched what you all do as a band, I was like, oh, not quite old-time music here. But, that's what I was expecting. How did Southeast Engine form originally?
As early as 1999, me and my brother and Leo DeLuca, the drummer, all grew up in Dayton, Ohio, like a suburb right outside Dayton. And then Leo and I went to school in Athens, went to college here at Ohio University. And I don't know, it was a pretty typical story, really. We just liked a lot of the same music, and he was playing drums, and I was starting to write some songs, and we just started playing music together, and that's basically it. There's really no great tale behind it, but it's pretty typical. This is Adam Remnant of Southeast Engine, and you're listening to Country Fried Rock. You can find us online at southeastengine.com.
How'd you learn to play music originally?
I think when I was in like 6th or 7th grade, like 12, 13 years old, me and one of my other brothers who's not in the band, we got really into Nirvana. And so Nirvana was breaking, and we became obsessed, and our parents bought us both really cheap electric guitars and got us in guitar lessons, and I don't know. We were just completely obsessed. I've been completely obsessed with rock and roll ever since, and I haven't been the same.
So did y'all have kind of your family Nirvana cover band?
Oh, yeah. We would do little fake concerts in our bedroom, and we'd set up cardboard boxes and pretend they were amps and then smash our guitars into the cardboard boxes.
Awesome.
That's pretty. Oh, yeah. I mean, what a great way to start.
So you say you became obsessed with rock and roll ever since. Once you it branched out from your Nirvana fandom, where did you head?
Well, I was into other alternative bands like Dinosaur Jr., Zebedeau, and bands like that. But then there was some Dayton stuff too, like Guided by Voices, Readers, right there. But then as I got a little bit older, I started, exploring more like classic rock, like the Beatles and Bob Dylan. And really, I think that's more the sound of Southeast Engine is kind of more based on 60s and 70s, rock and roll and folk rock and things like that, things of that nature. Growing up with those records, I mean, I just remember, my dad had a copy of the Beatles' White Album, listening to that when I was in ninth. Somehow I missed hearing the Beatles growing up, and I just remember hearing the Beatles when I was in ninth grade. And it just sounded totally bizarre to me. It actually took me a little while to get used to how they sound, which I think for a lot of people seems strange, but because most people, they sound so natural because you've heard them growing up. But somehow my parents didn't play it around the house, and so it took me a little while to get used to it. But then I just became completely obsessed with the Beatles and Bob Dylan.
So what was the music scene like at OU when you were there?
There's sort of two aspects to it. There's the rock clubs uptown, which have a lot of garage rock type bands. And then when I was first going to school here, there was a lot of jam bands around.
Right.
And, which, I like the Grateful Dead and some of that stuff. But I was curious of having Southeast Engine be something different than the garage rock and the jam band scene. Today there's a lot of indie rock sounding bands in Athens. Each club kind of has its own vibe, like the Union, and there's a lot of, rock and roll happening there. And then there's bars that kind of cater more towards jam bands and things like that. But there's also a real, old-time music element here, sort of Appalachian old-time music. Not necessarily bluegrass, but old-time.
Right.
And there's a couple of groups around here that play that music, and that influenced us more recently. But I think it was always kind of an influence living here, and those sounds just seeping in, what you're doing, folk music in general, going back to the 20s and 30s. You can find all our albums available at southeastengine.com, and you can also find information on the band there, and you can actually read all the lyrics and hear certain songs from each of our albums at southeastengine.com.
That was a pretty intentional choice then in terms of a production method. Who had you read about that did it that way that you wanted to emulate?
I don't know. Even, most of the Bob Dylan albums were always recorded live. Even a lot of the Beatles stuff, the basic tracking was recorded live. And even really, even going back and looking at the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds and Smile sessions, even these really advanced production techniques and arrangements, a lot of the basic tracking was still done with a group. You put the work into that initial live performance, and then you just do the overdub. I only wanted to overdub stuff that we couldn't do in those initial tracks, because we had our hands full.
Who did y'all work with?
We work with a studio here in Athens called 3 Elliott Studios, and there's a engineer/producer there named Josh Antonuccio. We've been working with him since our first studio album.
That's nice to have that continuity.
Yeah, Josh and us, we speak the same language musically. I feel like we have the same vocabulary, and he just gets our perspective and where we're coming from. And he's just a really good friend of ours, so I always feel really comfortable in the studio.
Sure.
That goes a long way.
Well, especially if you're going to be tracking live, that really makes a difference.
Yeah. And Josh he's sort of been like the fifth member of the band in a lot of ways, and he's sort of evolved with us, and, we're always, he'll challenge us and we'll challenge him, so it's been a really good relationship.
Do you feel that you have captured the sound you want to capture in your recording?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think all the albums that we've done there at 3 Elliott Studios sound great. Each time we make an album, you always kind of, I don't know what it is, but you always see musicians kind of swinging back and forth with each album. Like, well, the last time we had the album was really epic and dense, and this time we wanted more space. I don't know. That's just a natural tendency where you want to compensate for what you've done previously. But,
sure.
And you just don't want to repeat the same things, do the same things over and over. But so I think with each album, we've gone for a specific thing, been able to achieve it.
If someone were to see you live currently, what would they expect?
Well, right now we're doing about at least half of the new album, Canary, and we typically just choose songs that translate best live. We definitely differentiate between how to work in a studio and how to work in a live setting. So I think in the live shows, whatever songs from each album have translated the best live over the years, and then we're definitely wanting to pull some from our new material and our new album, and we definitely play songs from all of our previous albums as well. And typically we try to keep it largely with high energy songs. We do play some quieter ones too. We don't shy away from doing a quiet song. Try to, rein things back sometimes.
So you do road test new material?
We do sometimes. It just depends. Yeah, we were definitely doing some of the songs from our new album before it came out. And I don't know, sometimes that's a good idea. Sometimes maybe it's not. But because you're still working out the arrangements and I don't know, I just feel like sometimes you could practice a song a million times in your basement, but you're really not going to figure out how to play it live until you start playing it live.
Right.
Also, I just find that we'll think that we've got it down completely, and then you go play live, and I don't know, usually it takes a few times in front of an audience for it to really start clicking the way you want it to.
Mm-hmm. What song off of Canary changed the most from that original, like, play in the basement to the actual choice of heading into the studio with it?
I don't know if they changed much from, we work out the arrangements, in our practices before we go into the studio. And so there were some songs, like Ruthie, the last song on the album. I don't know that we had any arrangement for that song when we went into the studio. So that song was sort of, we figured out the arrangement while we were in the studio.
Uh-huh.
But then in live, from the album to how we end up performing the songs live, that can change. Like, there's a song, Adeline of the Appalachian Mountain. Yeah, and that song, live, we try, like, we don't typically have banjo in our live show. We mainly just do guitar, piano, bass, and drums. And we were trying to pull the banjo in for that song, but it was just too much of a shift for us in our live performance. And so we ended up just having our keyboard player, who also plays banjo. We ended up working out a piano part for that song in a live setting. It just seemed to work better in a live setting, to keep things moving.
As you all have gelled this current foursome, do you all come from similar musical interests and backgrounds?
Pretty similar. There's a lot of common denominators for sure, but then everybody has their own, like, more particular sensibilities. Like, I'm more into maybe more lyrically based stuff. Like, Billy, our keyboard player, says, I like Bob Dylan enough for the whole band. Whenever we're bringing music in the van to share for the touring, like, everyone's always like, yeah, everyone calls me Rem.
Yeah.
Anyways. Everyone will be like, Adam's got a stack full of Bob Dylan albums again, surprise. And then Jesse, my brother, has more pop sensibility. And I think Leo has more, not necessarily experimental, but more, he really likes more like 90s, like Dinosaur Jr., and like he's a big into like Ted Leo and the Pharmacist.
Yeah.
More, I don't know what that exactly, like the alternative rock sound.
Yeah.
And then Billy, being from Morgantown, West Virginia, grew up with a lot of country music, and he can play mandolin, banjo, and so he's got that element. And that is basically, all those sensibilities are in Southeast Engine for sure, and have been from the beginning. I think you could look at the four of us individually, and all of that's been encompassed in Southeast Engine from its beginnings too.
So what can y'all agree on then if you're in the van together?
I don't know. Musically, we don't, disagree very much. I mean, I think I write the songs and then bring them to the band, and then the arrangements, I don't know. I don't think we've ever had like a really big heated debate over the arrangement of a song. I mean, we usually just work on it till it really starts to click, and we all get excited about it. Because despite all of us having our own like particular musical identities, everybody appreciates all that other music, and everybody likes that other music. We just kind of have some more dominant traits in specific areas.
Sure. Since you're the Bob Dylan fan, do you have a particular phase or album of Bob's that you like, that sticks out for you the most?
Oh man, I go through phases with Bob Dylan. So, I mean, I guess my all-time favorite is probably Blood on the Tracks. I really like it because it has all the lyrical power of his mid-'60s album, but it's sort of like got down to like really songwriting basics, late 60s and early 70s. In the mid-'70s there with Blood on the Tracks, it's like all those initial lyrical powers are back, but through this whole new adult lens and consciousness from him that it just works on so many levels. But I love almost every era of Dylan. I've gone through periods where I've been obsessed with each era.
This is the second or third time you've mentioned lyrical power in different ways. So when you are initiating writing a song, what is your process?
It typically just starts with a small idea, maybe a line or a melody. I don't know. I really try to there's that old saying, the song writes itself. I really try to do that. I try not to force things, and I never seem to be short on ideas, but sometimes stuff doesn't get finished as fast as I'd like it to.
Right.
But I tend to just, let a song take as long as it needs to get written. I don't know. I still work at it. A lot of times I'll sit down and start working, and that starts generating ideas. But I I try to keep it spontaneous. I think about the songs a lot, but I really wait till things feel right and everything sits right with me. That's when the song's done. Sometimes that can take a long time.
So have you tried co-writing, or is this something that you've got plenty on your own?
I've got plenty on my own, but I wouldn't be adverse to co-writing either. I guess with Southeast Engine, I've kind of liked it to be my gig, sort of, in terms of the songwriting. It's been a real creative outlet for me since I was, 18 years old. That's just sort of my avenue for, I guess the songs that I write for Southeast Engine are the most important songs for me, and the songs that envelop that period in my life, what I want to write about. So, but outside of that, if I had more time, I would definitely, get my hands into more projects and work with more people. I would love to have more time to do stuff like that. It's hard to find the time.
If there were no limits on your time and your money, what would you like to do with Southeast Engine creatively?
I mean, mainly what we do now, I guess I would like to do more like little projects between full-length albums. I wish we more time and money to, make EPs and 7 inches and, or split EPs with other bands and things like that. I would love to do more projects like that. I think that there's so much pressure on your full-length album to make your full-length albums each one's, I feel like we try to make each one a little masterpiece, but at the same end, I feel like so much of music, there's so many other feelings in music. And I guess I love making these like definitive albums. I guess that's the thing that I get the most excited about. So that's what our full-length albums end up being. But I would like to just do projects with Southeast Engine in between that are more, I guess, less ambitious. Hey, we got together and wrote some. I really love like Dylan's basement tapes. The natural feel of that, like just getting together and making music for the fun of it and not thinking too much about it. I love a lot of recordings like that too. So I wish we had more time to do stuff like that, but we make the most of it. This is Adam Remnant of Southeast Engine, and you're listening to Country Fried Rock. You can find us online at southeastengine.com.
In terms of live performing, what do you all enjoy as a group?
I really like when we get in front of an audience or in a room where it allows for us to be really dynamic. I don't know, sometimes you get into rooms that it feels kind of stiff and everything's like super quiet. And then sometimes you get in rooms where the audience is really, maybe everyone's wasted, or, and it's just really rowdy and everyone's chattering away and stuff. And we can play to each of those rooms.
Sure.
But the best rooms I find are where there's there's energy there in the audience to hear music and see the band play, and we're going to follow each other in terms of like, okay, when it's rocking, like everyone's excited,
Right.
And then when we do a quiet, more introspective song, people are there with that too. A lot of times I think venues set the tone of how a show's going to go. It's just kind of interesting to see night to night what kind of vibe each room has.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite place?
I have favorite places. There's a small town in Indiana called North Manchester. They have a venue there called the Firehouse, and a bunch of like high school kids started it. And it's all ages. I like that high school kids will be at the show, and then people from the community there as well. And so that's a favorite place. I love actually shows in L.A. and New York. This year have been some of my favorite shows. We played at the Satellite in L.A., which was formerly the Spaceland, which is sort of a well-known venue in L.A. And then we just played a show in Brooklyn earlier this year at the Rock Shop, and that was one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
So.
Brooklyn's got a nice little, not just music scene, but music fan scene.
I was pleasantly surprised by New York and LA this year because actually we've always had great shows in New York, and this was our first time playing in LA, so that was new to us. But it was typically people think of New York like there's just stereotypes of New York and LA, like people just won't care, they'll be in New York people are too busy to care, and in LA people are too self-absorbed to care or something, But I don't know. I did not. That was not the case at all. People were very enthusiastic and supportive and encouraging in both cities. So
that's cool.
Somehow all those stereotypes are transcended.
Who have you all either been like on a bill with or at a similar venue where you've been turned on to something new to you?
We did a tour last summer with this band Deerhoof. I was a little bit familiar with their music before touring with them, but touring with them really opened me up to, what they do musically. It's really hard to describe what they do. There's vocals, but it feels more based on the music than the vocals. It's really wild. It feels like there's a lot of thought into the composition of each song. So it's really sophisticated musically in a lot of ways, but then the performance is just like you're watching the Stooges or something.
Like Iggy, not the Three.
Yeah, it was just like crazy, energy. So they're really fun to watch, and that was inspiring watching them each night.
Somehow, between Nirvana and Bob Dylan and the Beatles, you've schooled yourself on other styles of music as well.
Yeah.
How has that developed for you?
I feel like I'm into some sort of genre. Like right now I'm really into sort of early to mid 70s California stuff, like Joni Mitchell. I've actually got this Jackson Browne album. I've really been enjoying his first album. I don't know, stuff that's surprising me. This artist, Judy Sill, I don't know if you ever heard her albums, but she put out an album in like 70 and then another one in 71. And she only put out a couple albums, but they're these real like California folky, really amazing melodies too, with like a strong pop sensibility. She had a song called Jesus Was a Crossmaker. That was kind of a hit. But man, go, look for her music. As soon as I heard a couple of her songs, I was immediately convinced.
Cool. I'm writing it down now. For the melody within the band, do you all have a model, or how do you develop those harmonies?
The harmonies have really gotten worked out more and more with my brother joining the band. He has a tenor voice where mine is more of a baritone. So it's just really natural for us to sing together. It's just part of the arranging where, I guess typically we work out the music.
Right.
And then me and my brother will get together just with an acoustic guitar or piano and just go through the song line by line and figure out where we want the harmonies and what the harmony notes should be. I don't know, it's always a really fun process because it's sort of like the icing on top, But it's also really fun, like me and my brother can just sit down with an acoustic guitar and sing a song together. And there's just something nice about that.
I guess you're far enough apart in age that much time together is working for you.
We get along splendidly. I don't know. We've never...
No Gallagher Brothers fistfights here.
No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. And actually, we have another brother who lives in L.A. who's also a musician. And, our goal is to someday be able to afford to take him out on tour with us, too, and have him be part of the band. But,
exactly.
So that would be really cool to have all three of us in the same band. We'll see. And he's got the voice in between us.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool?
It would be cool. But actually, Billy is a great singer, too. And so we've started doing a little bit of three-part harmonies, too. But three-part harmonies are tricky. And
very.
Not every song calls for a three-part harmony as well. So
talk about that a little bit, because, going from just the two-part standard harmony to a three-part is a very different sound.
Yeah. For the most part, we stick with just the second just the one harmony to the lead melody vocal. That just comes more naturally. And then, if you throw a third part in there, it's definitely changing the feel of the song. All of a sudden, it feels like it's almost more orchestral or more, where a harmony vocal kind of accents the lead vocal.
Right.
When you put a third harmony in there, it's kind of like you're listening to a group of singers versus a lead vocalist with a harmony. You can still have a third part and still have it revolve around the lead vocal, but I don't know, it just gets a little bit trickier.
Where do you think you're headed creatively with your next development of songs?
Well, this newest album is very kind of rootsy, and we used a lot of acoustic instruments on it. It's definitely a rock band still on a lot of the songs as well, but I don't know, I think on the next album, I'm kind of feeling more of a more atmospheric album. I'm not quite sure how that plays out yet, but that's kind of what I'm hearing in my head.
That'd be interesting.
I want to just feel like you can, more than just the instruments in a real direct way, I want it to feel a bit more surreal, I guess. So, but that's a really early idea still. It's more an evolution, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, our drummer, Leo DeLuca, actually is running Mizra Records now, which is the label that we are on. Yeah, and have been for 3 albums. It's a recent development. We did our previous 2 albums on Mizra, and then the guy who was running it, he also runs Absolutely Kosher. and he was just busy with his label. And Mizra is like owned by other investors, and so they were looking for someone new to run the label. And Leo was running a small imprint of Mizra called Moonjaw Records. And I don't know, they were just impressed by what Leo was doing on his own, and they needed some new blood in there to manage Mizra, and so he wound up being the guy. So yeah, that's an interesting development. Yeah, he's running it out of Durham, North Carolina.
By being distributed geographically, are you finding that you all are developing some newer core audiences?
Well, it's still kind of new to us. We've been touring a good bit this year. We went to the West Coast last summer, and then we went there again this spring. We're kind of starting to get some footholds there out west, but we haven't gone down to North Carolina yet. We've played in Chapel Hill before.
Very cool. Great opportunity for you all. I really appreciate your time, Adam. Thank you very much. I'm excited to get a few more songs off of Canary playing on our station. Take it easy.
All right. You too.
Bye-bye. Bye. Country Fried Rock. Find the full playlist from this episode on countryfriedrock.org. Check us out on iTunes. No music, just talk. Our theme music is from The Full Tones. Our Country Fried Rock stinger is from Steve Soto and the Twisted Hearts. Country Fried Rock. Copyright 2012 by Lilypad Productions. All rights reserved.
Ever he been helping us some country fried rock.
Hey y'all, it's Sloane Spencer. Thanks so much for finding all these new old episodes of Country Fried Rock. I've got something completely different available these days called Sleep with Rock Stars. And it all started from a listener comment back in the very early days of Country Fried Rock who said, I slow these down to 75% and fall asleep to them. And I was like, well, over the years I started thinking about it, and I recently started Sleep with Rock Stars. It's the Gen X Sleep Podcast, and you can find it at sleepwithrockstars.com or your favorite podcast app.